Don't get tripped up by extension cords. Welcome to another When It Comes Down to It. Today we're going to be talking about the proper use of extension cords, or basically the do's and don'ts of utilizing extension cords in the field. The most important thing with extension cords is to make sure that you're safe, you're using the correct cord for the location and use of that extension cord, and of course we want to make sure that we have a good long cord life, because extension cords are not cheap anymore. As a matter of fact, one nick can very easily cost you $100 or more. The first thing you need to do is make sure you understand and obey all of your regulatory rules involving the use of temporary electrical systems, especially in a wet environment that we work in so often in our world. So we need to make sure that we're obeying OSHA in the United States of America, or basically elsewhere in the world, your safety governmental rules as far as they are applied to your project at hand. Actually, in the United States, we're pretty lax. Many countries, extension cords have to be inspected annually by a licensed professional to make sure that happens. Now, one of the things that we need to make sure of is that when we're using them out in the field, we don't get any nicks, cuts, abrasions, so we want to protect them from harm. The other thing that happens is, on our ends, we can't cut off the ground plug. Now that this end has been damaged by the ground plug being removed, obviously no ground is a major offense, but on top of that, now we can't replace this end with a grounded plug. So this extension cord is no longer usable in the commercial environment in most countries around the world. So the most important thing is use of the extension cord once you're making sure that you're abiding by regulatory. The use of the extension cord is about the location and also about what type of voltage and amperage or load you're going to put onto that extension cord. So here we have a very light duty extension cord. We already talked about the ground plug, we know that, but it's a nice little multi-tap system. But this is very light duty. You could only use this with a proper ground in a dry location, and it would be for a very light load, like a charger for your cell phones or a charger for your drill motors or anything like that, cordless tools, whatnot. You could run a full drill motor off of it, no problem. Now, this is a very light duty extension cord, and you can see this one here is thicker. This is a 3-prong. And this is a much thicker gauge cord because this can carry more amperage. So if we're going to put on a dehumidifier or multiple air movers, we cannot use this light type gauge cord. We need to step up. Now, if you look at this cord, it's a nice gauge. There's no GFI outlets in here on this particular cord reel. That means this, again, cannot be used in a wet location because we have no GFCI or GFI, depending on what you call it in your location. What you can do is buy this pigtail. And the nice thing about the pigtail is it allows you to plug in, protect yourself with the GFCI, and still gives you multi-taps. One hint on this: make sure you buy a 20 amp pigtail GFCI system, because if not, what's going to do is you're going to have a 20 amp circuit breaker or a 20 amp outlet, 20 amps worth of load or 16 amps worth of load properly, and then you're only going to have a 12 amp capability of the GFCI, and you're going to burn this up, and they're not cheap. So make sure you get the proper size GFCI or GFI for your location. So the second thing on the use is the load, or how much amperage you're going to actually be pulling on the line. So again, remember, extension cords, light duty, heavier duty. The multi-taps, as we said, we can add, or what you can do is buy a high quality commercial multi-tap extension cord that actually lights up and tells you it's got the power. Now please don't bet your life on whether it's lit or not, but it's a nice indicator to have. These taps also come with covers, so you can cover them off to stop construction debris getting inside of them, and they come with the extra heavy duty gauge, so you can run your dehumidifiers and air movers down the hallway. These are very useful, especially in commercial. Biggest issue again is one nick or one damage to this and you've thrown away a couple of $100. So make sure that you're taking care of your very expensive high-end extension cords. Now, one other thing you want to do about protecting extension cords is if they're going to be on the ground, remember, slip, trips, and falls occur to 15% of the accidents in the United States out out there and the desks. So we want to make absolutely sure these are protected in cable guards so people don't trip over them, and also machinery or rolling stock does not damage that extension cord. Very important to make sure that you protect them in your location. RTI tech tip. It is important to make sure that you do not leave the extension cords rolled up while in use, daisy chain or plug one extension cord into another, and of course never have trip hazards available for someone to fall. Okay, so now that your job is finished, you're going to get into the maintenance side of things. First off to do is keep yourself a good microfiber or some kind of decent terry towel to wipe off the extension cord as you roll it up. Now you can roll it up on reels or you can roll it up in coils. There's multiple different ways of doing it. One of the most important things is once you roll it up, go ahead and tie it up with a tie wrap of this type. These are great. And then what you can do is now hang this anywhere you want. You want to store the cords properly as well. Most important thing to do is understand when you're investing in some serious money for extension cords, because we're using dozens to hundreds of these things depending on the size of your operation, we want to make sure that we protect this investment for the company and for your own safety out on the job site. So when it comes down to it, know and obey your regulatories. On top of that, always make sure you're choosing the right extension cord for the right use, the right load, in the right location, wet or not, and then make absolutely sure, of course, that you maintain them properly for the future. As a bonus on this one, here we have a great photograph of properly stored extension cords, but there is a problem with at least one of these cords. Make a comment, see if you can figure out what the problem is. As always, thanks to C&R Magazine for distribution of the series, and thank you for learning with RTIlearning.com. Listed and inspected by a professional. Listed and inspected, listed and inspected. Okay, there we go. Extensions cords actually have to be listed and oops. And the bad boy. The bad boy. Let's see, this is one big mama jamma. So make absolutely sure you're taking care of your So as a bonus, here's a photograph of a rack of storage.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, we do it all the time. That's the brilliant part about having a blooper reel. Because it actually shows how much is actually cut out to make the thing look good. Would be for a very light load, like a charger for your cell phones or a charger for your drill motors or anything like that, cordless tools, whatnot. Okay, and yep, that's got it.